Hello everyone. Hello Stein, Robin, Vacno, Cricket Room. Hello everyone. Let me know if you can hear me well, if everything sounds great, if the image is alright. I would love to see my target one on this field before it fully reverse through the stream, as the usual stream curse. I will show you guys one setup last week. I got stopped out on stream. This was Friday stream. It's on me. I should have had a much wider invalidation, something like that. But yeah, was a bit painful. Went for the target 2 after that. But yeah, so waiting for a few people to join. I just shared the links left and right. The plan for the stream, a classic, shouldn't be too long of a stream. I think 1 hour, depending of how much chat requests you guys have. These were the chat requests from my last streams. But yeah, basically discussion about Bitcoin, lower time frame, higher time frame. I can show you guys the main areas of interest that I've had. Some very classic in the system, I should say, for anyone that's been following the system or following my updates for some time. It's been very basics trading lately. I've been taking some setups left and right. The trading has been pretty nice lately. Still mostly only swing long in Bitcoin. Still off of this swing from last year that I've been compounding on lower time frame through the year, through the months, but I've not yet compounded swing wise on this one. And beside that, it's been mostly if trading. Ave, where I've built some position. I've got back in position after missing that retest the other day. We can discuss all of that. If you guys have any chat requests particularly, don't hesitate to ask for the chat requests. It's a summer stream, so that means that unless absolute shit show, it should be a pretty cozy chill stream. So yeah, as I said, first we discuss Bitcoin. We can discuss if you guys want. I can show you the main areas of interest that I have for anyone that's not in the Haven and that might not have seen my post about ETH. And yeah, then after that chat request, if you have any questions of any kind, can be trading questions, can be chat request, whatever. You don't hesitate to ask. That's the main goal of those streams. But yeah, I hope everyone's early summer is doing great. I hope you guys are not getting chopped and that everything's doing all right. As I said, personally, pretty cozy. Last week was a very, very fun week to trade, in my opinion. We've got quite the volatility, obviously, with that move of H1 300 MA all the way up to 110.5. So far this week, slightly more choppy, I think we could say. It's been a little bit less active. Hey Delta, hello brother. I hope you're doing great. Thanks for stopping by. You're legends. So yeah, waiting 2 more minutes and then I will start with the Bitcoin analysis. What's your view on XRP? If you guys, we can discuss XRP. It's one of those coins that I've been actively trading on lower time frame, and I have these are my 2 main plans that we discussed during the previous streams. I actually think it's a plan that we built during the last public stream we made together, and this is the overall point of view I have on XRP. This is the swings I'd like to take. And outside of that, I've been following a setup that Krillin shared in the Haven for XRP. And I basically used his setup as a basis for my exposure on XRP. I'm trying to find the chat from Krillin. But basically, yeah, Krillin shared a long in the Haven, so I used his initial entry, which I believe is in this region, 2.12. But basically, my view on XRP is that well, it's on the right. It's all written on the right, which is basically daily EMA compression. So this happens when you have all the main moving averages all flattening and compressing in the same region. This is, by the way, the main setup that made us long Bitcoin at the end of last year, going into the US elections. So it's pretty much the same picture. And usually when I'm approaching these kind of structure, what I do is I wait either for a retest of the daily 300 MA, which is basically the last place you want to see some defense for the structure to remain valid. And now it's an even better one because we have some lows to use as confluence. Otherwise, when I'm playing EMA compressions, if I am not positioned within the compression itself, what I wait is for a new trend to form. Basically, EMA compressions are a good way to spot whenever the last move has fully reset. It doesn't mean that you should necessarily expect a perfect immediate trend as soon as the compression is over. Not all compression are happening as cleanly as the one from last year. But basically, as soon as you have an EMA compression, if you want to know whether this is a successful exit of the compression or not, you want to see the trend defended. And last year, Bitcoin price action was perfect. You can see that we have the compression, we've got deviation above, deviation below. But in both cases, you had no respect of the trend and it went back inside the compression. While when we got the successful exit, we got compression into trend defended, and then you have the right to trend. If we take the example from earlier this year, which was slightly less clean because less compressed, we can see that we have an exit of the compression, immediately back inside, not respecting the trend. And as when we got the exit, we can see the trend was defended into a new leg up. So right now on XRP, if we apply the same logic, I would be interested to catch an entry into the daily 300 MA retests down to 1.88, 1.95. And if that's not something I can get, I will wait for a daily trend to be defended outside of the compression. And a potential narrative that could fuel that is, I have absolutely no idea about that, by the way. But if I was a Ripple exec and I was still contemplating the idea of extracting as much money as possible as they've always done with their trash coin, I would probably try to fill for an IPO or something like this, and maybe make some acquisition before that, so that you can not only have your XRP to sell, and then try to play around the potential IPO narrative. Obviously, I have no insight, no information about that, but this could be the game plan. So Zero Max, this is mostly my point of view when it comes to XRP right now. I'm letting it trying to exit the daily EMA compression. If it fails to do so, I will be trying to snipe an entry into the daily 300 MA region. And if it successfully exit the compression, I will be trying to ride the daily trends. What I like about coins like XRP is that, and we've had a very good example of that last year. I don't know if I still have the charts from last year's setups in the Haven or not. I can't remember in which, I can't remember where we were trading it, where we were charting it at least. But basically, yeah, what is good with coins like XRP is that you can 100% miss the initial leg up. And if you're focused, but it's a very trendy shitcoin, meaning that as soon as it starts moving, usually you can dive into lower time frame and apply the classical trend following setups. For anyone that's in the Haven, you have the template of these kind of setups, and yeah, you can still make a good chunk of money riding the trend up until it starts getting disrespected. In that case, you know that it's time to back off until and basically Zero Max, we have the perfect example of what I was discussing before on the daily. You can see trendy behavior trend starts to crack. We fill the gaps, more chop vests, compression, and we exit the compression with a trend defended into new leg. And it's been chop vest ever since. So yeah, basically it's a coin I'm very interested in, mostly because I think that they are very scammy and they will find ways to pump their shitcoins eventually. And when it does, it pumps nicely and it's pretty trendy. So it's always on top of my watch list in terms of coins of interest. so that I'm sure that if it starts pumping nicely, I will very likely be focused on it. So that's my overall view. And of course, as usual, every chart that we are going to discuss today will be shared. Sorry, in my Telegram channel, which is 100% free, and where you can find access to daily. I should not say daily detailed updates because, because I try to share some daily updates over there, but sometimes I miss on it for sometimes, especially if there is not much happening like lately. But it's a place I still try to remain active. Um, all right. So that was for XRP. We're just gonna discuss Bitcoin rapidly, and then we get back to the chat request if you guys are okay with that. I will just list the ones you guys asked. You asked for SUI, SEI. You can check Bula, but I'm almost 100% certain that I won't have much things of interest to say about it, but we can check. And please check, Quick seems like a scam super duper about to happen. Okay, I will check. I will check through the stream if you guys want. So you think it could sweep 192? I don't know if it could sweep it. All I know is that if it comes for that retest region, I will be interested to trade it. And if it doesn't, it likely means that it's exiting the compression, and I would be just as interested. I have no idea if it's going to sweep or not. Basically, if you ask me a question saying, do you think something could? The answer is always going to be yes. In the markets, anything can happen. So could it sweep $10? Yeah, it could sweep $10. Could it sweep 1.9? Yes, it could. But no idea if it will. I have a plan if it does. This is not a definitive invalidation. I will if it comes for daily 300 MA, I will likely bid it partially initially, let it develop a little bit, and if it fails to get back above it rapidly, I will cut. But basically, I know that I'm interested, and you can see in the alerts that I'm updating the alerts through how daily 300 MA is catching up with price, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, Kato also. I took a setup on Kato last week, and I have not looked at it ever since. Yeah. Okay, maybe I should have. That was a clean shot off of the H1 EMA compression. But again, let's just start rapidly with Bitcoin, and then we move into shitcoinery. So I will start with H1. It's been very basic focuses, I should say, over the past 10 days when it comes to Bitcoin lower time frame, at least for the system or for anyone following the system. First crack of H1 100 MA, fill all the gap to H1 300 MA, flip H1 100 MA, come for the sweep of the highs, lose the trend, fill the gap. Very classic. And right now we have the main idea short term is that at the beginning of the day, what we wanted to see was H1 trend, H1 100 MA to be reclaimed. And we were expecting these to be filled, which we got for New York Open. And now we are back at retesting this region. I personally think that on the short term, you want to see the entire 108 up to 108.5 defended. If we manage to defend this region, I think that through the session, we could see a retest of the highs, and we could see another tap into the 109s. But if we start failing to defend this region and get back into yesterday's price action, yesterday's small range or small chop fest region, I think it's a strong signal that if you're day trading, I would personally, at least, I would treat it as a signal that my day is over and that I should come back tomorrow and let things develop. And while setting some alerts lower, but basically, if this is not defended right now, I would consider that we don't have a trendy behavior to work with. So it's I think it's a key fight that we're seeing right now post New York Open. I mean, it's been an hour, but yeah, it's a key fight right now. And I don't know how to phrase it, but it does feel a lot like like summer price action. Like I don't have much to back this besides gut feeling and beside how the market feels, but it definitely feels like the summer has begun finally compared to last week. This is what I was tweeting. Yeah, on Monday I was saying it does feels like this is the first day of the summer trading wise and in the markets, and yeah, it's been a little bit like this ever since. It's been a little bit like this ever since. So it's gonna be interesting to see if this is a defense. Obviously, you have the H1 EMA compression below all the way down to 107.8. That will be interesting to see if defended or not. But yeah, basically key fight right now. And if we go into H4, not much surprises if you've been watching and listening to the stream or the updates shared on Twitter. I'm gonna remove some drawings a little bit to make things slightly cleaner. But basically, yeah, the main levels we've been working with basically since May now. It's been almost 2 months since we entered this range that we've been chopping around with. And basically, I think everything is said in the levels. The entire 108.5 up to 110.5, and obviously all-time high region is where you take profits until proven otherwise. We've been consolidating in this region for the past 15 days, 10 days now. Yeah, something like this. Main chop fest region, obviously, and obviously down to daily 100 MA is where you start praying. So, as I said, if we can't defend the 108 region, EMA wise on H4, that would not be too much of a surprise. You can see that the H4 trend has not been respected at all. We can see deviations below, above, lost again, reclaimed again, lost again, which is usually the signal you want to see if you're expecting chop fest. As I always say, if you have a system that's good to show you trendy behavior, it should be just as good to show you the lack of it. And I think the daily chart is even a better example of that. Over end of last year was a fantastic example of that. We have a strong daily trend all the way up to new all-time high. Daily trend starts to crack for the first time, and then it's followed by 2 months of chop fest while the gap to 100 MA is filled. And basically we've got our exit of the compression, leg up to new all-time high, daily trend starts to crack, and it's been chop fest ever since also. And and this leads me to my main idea when it comes to the daily charts. And it's something that I updated on Twitter also, is that my main interrogation going into this summer is, do we have a new daily trend to work with? Because basically, if we have a new defended daily trend, obviously, as I just discussed, I would expect trendy behavior off of that time frame. But if daily trend continues to be disrespected, as it's been the case since the first crack in early June, then I would not be surprised to see a similar price action than at the end of last year, especially considering the seasonality of the summer. And it would not necessarily be a bad thing, by the way. If we have some chop fest through the summer, while daily 100 MA catches up with price and gives us a retest going into the end of the year, to me at least, that would be a good opportunity for a setup going into, just like last year, basically going into the last quarter and the end of the semester. So, to summarize, basically, hello Pierre, désolé, mais c'est écrit trop petit. Yeah, sorry. I can zoom out a little bit, but in any case, we are not going to spend too much time on those chat right now. I just wanted to give my quick thoughts, and then we move into chat request, and I will write things bigger. No worries. But basically, all I wanted to say for the daily chart is that this looks more than good to me. And even if we were to not show a daily trend and chop fest like this for the rest of the summer, to me that would still remain very good. And that would open the door for a potential swing compounding off of daily EMA retests for the end of the year. This is not a definitive setup. Again, this is just an idea that it's developing as the moving averages are developing. But yeah, so if you're watching Bitcoin daily going into this summer, I think you want to keep a very close eye on the daily trend, which is right now down to 106.7. If it's defended while we are consolidating below all-time high region, I think it's not too crazy to expect and monitor a potential leg up and potential new all-time high going into the summer or through the summer. While at the opposite, if daily trend continues to be disrespected, as it's been the case since early June, I think you can very much just expect chop fest. And if that's the case, I think you have two options. You either get the fuck out, you set some alerts at daily 100 MA and above all time high, and you wait for one of the two to trigger. Otherwise, if you want to remain active in the market, you can also try to perfect your trading and ranging skills, or you can try to browse the market and shitcoins to see if there are any kind of isolated trends forming. Because summer tend to be pretty choppy, pretty boring, but it's also often the case that we have some isolated trends forming in shitcoins. At least it used to be the case. And if that's the case, it can make some very interesting setups to ride through the summer. I'm not saying that we should expect DeFi 2021 summer, obviously, because that was probably one in a lifetime. But if we could have any kind of narrative that pushes some movements while Bitcoin is consolidating, I think that could keep you busy for the summer without getting chopped by Bitcoin. So if I summarize before we move into chart requests, on higher time frame, obviously your two main focuses to have is the overall all-time high region, but that goes without saying. We've been stuck below ever since late May, and daily trend. Defend daily trend, and I think we have an opportunity for a all-time high during the summer. I don't know if we will get enough of a daily trend for some price discovery, but could have something like this happening through the summer. And if daily trend is not respected, so again, right now it's down to 106.5, something like this, then I think this is your signal to mostly expect chop fest, in which case you set some alert at daily 100 MA that will continue to catch up with price above all time high, and you wait for one of the two to trigger. If we go into H4, this is pretty much the same story. The main difference being that H4 trend has been very disrespected lately. I think that if you're trading H4 right now, you place some alerts at H4 100 MA and above the highs from Thursday last week, and you wait for one of the two to trigger. Anything in between is going to chop you out. And if you play on H1, which is this chart, you want to see this region defended right now, where we are fighting currently. This is the confluence of H1 trend and H1 100 MA after some compression. If it's defended, I think we have an opportunity to see this region tapped again before the end of the day, or at least, or maybe before tomorrow New York Open. And if this region is not defended, that's yet another signal of chop fest, because that would mean H4 trend disrespected, H1 trend disrespected, daily trend disrespected. You get the idea, and in which case this is the box I would be interested to play some things, because as I just highlighted, this would be the H4 EMA confluence. So big test right now, big retest happening. We will see how it's developing. I personally went for a small scalp off of New York Open. Right now I'm mostly trying to push some volume on things like lighters and those places. So I'm playing around some new platforms to see if they are good to trade. So I'm not trading with big size, and in case when you see me scalping, I don't trade with my full usual size. I still don't feel as comfortable with scalping or intraday trading that I am with swinging. But yeah, we'll see if that's defended or not. It's pretty likely that once again I went for a too aggressive invalidation. But in the same time, I don't want to have my invalidation below the entire structure. So we're going to keep it that way for now. In any case, it's not that big of a setup. And earlier today, I went for something like this, which we got the exit right now. So I'm almost fully out, not completely. What I'm going to be watching, just like on Bitcoin, is whether it can defend H1 trend or not. If it can, I could be interested through the day to try and capture another retest of this region. But I kind of feel like I've already done quite a lot today. And yeah, okay. So that's pretty much it for the main points of interest when it comes to Bitcoin I think seasonality favors chop fest. The question is, do we chop in the 106, 109, or do we chop in the in the low 100s? Do we defend a new trend? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I have some plans and scenario in mind. I know I want to play them if they unfold, and I know what are my confirmations and validation for the scenarios. As I said, trend this summer for me would be confirmed if we have a daily trend defended. While if daily trend continues to be defended, it means I can likely just spend my summer doing barbecue and chilling by the pool. How do you manage take profits in gap fills when after losing the trend, price starts to range, a longer EMA are catching up? I'm not entirely certain to have understood your question, Cricket Room. If you think you can reword it, I'm gonna read it again to try and see if I understand it. How do you manage take profits in gap fills when after losing the trend, price starts to range longer? And moving averages are catching up. So basically you're asking the question of, there is a gap fill forming, or I'm playing a gap fill setups. Let's imagine that it's this one. And then the price starts to consolidate and the gaps reduces. Usually what I do is, one of the things I do when I'm playing gap fills is that I'm usually heavily aggressively paying myself at targets, meaning that if when we played the daily 100 MA to daily 200 MA gap fill, I didn't keep anything of the position from there. And if I want to play the daily 300 MA setup, I will play it another day. However, if you are in the situation where you did not pay yourself fully after the gap fill was completed, my personal opinion is that the closer the moving averages are getting, so basically the smaller the gaps are getting, the just unless you have a bigger plan, just pay yourself and get out. The main reason for me to say that is gap fill setups are not meant to be positions that you are going to hold on to for a long time. Gap fill setups are here to help you capturing a reversal, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. The idea is always the exact same thing. We broke the trend, we play the gap fills all the way up to daily 300 MA, but it's not something that you want to hold on forever. So that means that it's usually setups you want to be aggressively paying yourself and exit basically if the gaps are too small to play anymore. The only position I see myself swinging off are when we are either in a very strong defined trend, like the one from last year, or when we have a daily MMA compression. Other than that, be a take profit maximalist. And if you feel like the gaps are too small, that it's not worth anymore to play the gap fill in itself, then just don't play it. If we take last year compression as an example, at this point, that was very interesting to try to play the gap fill. At this point, that's not something you want to be interested. Your Bitcoin long hit stop loss? Maybe. I lowered the stop a little bit, so maybe it's not this one. It did not. It did not. I lowered my entry and stop loss earlier by adding a little bit. This is the final setup. But knowing the market, I would not be surprised if I ended being cooked. This was the setup at open. But yeah, it's very close to be stopped. It's very close to be stopped. And this reminds me of the setup we took last Friday that I'm still mad about. But to be honest, that was just me being an idiot. This was the setup we took last week when we were streaming on Friday, and the idea was that we had the retest confluence of this horizontal level plus H1 200 MA, H1 100 MA, and I was aiming for up to this region, which was already a 3R setup. There were absolutely no justification for me to have such a tight invalidation. I should have had a wider invalidation than that. The two reasons I could have and should have had a wider invalidation was that I was aiming for quite a nice reversal that we end up having, and the distance to the next gap fill was wide enough. So I should have 100% have a wider invalidation. I wanted to play it aggressively. Was it because I was live and I wanted to flex a very sexy RR setup, or was it because it was Friday and I was just an idiot on a Friday? I don't know. The reclaim setup that some people took was a very nice one, but this one I'm still mad about, to be honest, because yeah, the more I look at the setup, the less I see justifications to have an invalidation this tight below H1 200 MA. But we live and we learn. We live and we learn. Why didn't you base yourself on the small accumulation before the big move? This one, you mean? Because when I entered this setup, this was not here. Or you mean this one for your invalidation, like an invalidation below this week? Could have. That probably wouldn't have been a justification for me. But in any case, this would have been a decent invalidation. Could have been Vacno. Could have been. In any case, as I say, was a brain dead setup. It's called being right and still being wrong. And in trading, it doesn't matter at all if in the end what you had in mind played out, if the moment you enter and you set your trade is invalidated. So yeah, but this is just the reality of trading. It is what it is. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I was much more lucky on the if part of things because it was also much cleaner. But again, it just is what it is. Sometimes the entry you catch on stream ends up being a very, very sexy entry for the rest of the weekend, and sometimes before the stream ends you end up being wicked out. But Moit Gurar, if you can tell me which one you are referring to in terms of your BTC, your Bitcoin long hit stop loss. Maybe it's something I shared earlier in the Haven. If that's the case, that likely means that I ended up updating the setup. Or maybe you're talking about the 15-minute one, which was a micro bet for the New York Open. If that's the case, we got 109.2 and then the rest was stopped. Yeah. Again, this is summer. This is lower time frame trading. I'm not Loma. I'm not Krillin. I'm not your average city godlike scalper. So I grind and I learn. Beside that, and then we move on to the chat requests. As I said, I started to re-enter Aave last week. I'm a bit mad at myself, but we already discussed that last stream, because when we had this setup, which gave target 1 and then died, our main idea was, if this setup is invalidated, you set some alerts into the daily EMA region and you long it if it's offered. And it happened on a Sunday, and I was not active on this weekend, so I missed that retest. And we can see that it's the exact same one on it's the exact same one on ETH, which probably was the best entry you could opt for going into the rest of the summer. So yeah. But yeah, started to re-enter Aave, only 1/3 of the position, and I will be looking to increase exposure, particularly if it manages to hold daily trends and flip the 280 region. That would be it's doing it right now, but I would want to see the daily trend catch up with price a little bit while daily stock reset, and that would be the perfect trigger for me to enter more of the position. For now, I'm fine with it. When we entered the position, we had this as an invalidation, reclaim of daily trend plus higher low formed after the dip, which made a nice confluence for the invalidation, likely going to stick to this one. So for now, I have 1/3 of the exposure, and I'm willing to increase. I would say one thing for anyone that's trading Aave, at least for me, it's something that I would not trade off of anything but daily. At least in my system, at least and at least again for me, some people are very different than I am. But personally, I feel like it's a coin that's good traded on daily, but most often they are not complete shit show on lower time frame. So just like Bitcoin, I think what you can do if you want to trade AVE is to stick to the daily trend. Try to play daily trend retests, and if it's not respected anymore, you just get out and you wait for it to compress. And it's exactly the plan that we're gonna have. All right, let's start the chat requests. I don't know if you guys have more than these two. Also, Cricket Room, if my answer was not clear or if you want me to precise or whatever. Oh, okay, I just saw your message. Okay, if the answer was clear, good enough. If anything I'm discussing isn't clear or you need or want some precision, don't hesitate to ask. That's what these streams are for. Never forget that I'm just a baguette speaking English, so sometimes it would not be surprising if my English is too broken for you guys to understand what I'm saying. Hello, Jill Castro, how are you? Can you check the cursed curve? Yeah, I can. It's it's the cursed coin. It's the cursed coin. Thanks as always. With pleasure, Raul. With pleasure. That's what these streams are for. That's what these streams are for. I don't know if I will be able to do another one in July, because after this stream I will likely be AFK for partially AFK, not completely AFK. I will still be active in the Haven, etc., but I will likely not be able to stream until mid-August. So maybe it's the only stream for July. If it's not, as usual, I will update everyone. On Twitter, obviously. Oh, about SPX and Fatcoin. So we can discuss Fatcoin. We can discuss SPX 69. And we're gonna start with SPX 69 because it's been extremely clean in the system. It's one that we've been watching in the Haven for the past couple of weeks. If you were here at the beginning of the stream, you have to remember what I discussed about the EMA compression. We talked about the daily EMA compression and how to avoid deviations. You want to see the trend defended outside of the compression, and when you have a trend defended outside of compression, this is your confirmation to expect trendy behavior. So you see this kind of structure. This is exactly what we have on H4 for SPX 69. You can see it's not 1-1, but it's extremely clean. It's extremely similar. And as you can see, attempt to break through H4 compression, fails to defend the trend, back inside the compression. Try to exit, fail to defend the trend, back inside compression. So my main view on SPX is basically this. Let me see if I can find the chart. I think we covered it during the last stream I did. During the last stream we did in the Haven. So let me see if I can find the chart before and after. That's always interesting. But I've been chatting a lot of things lately, and I'm struggling to find back all the setups. But anyway, I think that was okay. That was not this one. But in any case, for SPX 69. So as I said, I think you have several options. Let me remove some circles. Okay, so I think you have two options, just like we discussed for XRP daily earlier. If you remember what I said earlier for the daily XRP chart, I said you either want to position yourself on a daily 300 mA retest, or you want to wait for a new daily trend to form outside of the compression. And if we apply the same logic for SPX 69, what does that mean? That means that if you're looking for an entry, I think you want to try and catch a setup, a retest of this region. I think for a coin like, at the end of the day, it's just a meme coin, right? So I think you want to take it slow. You don't have to go full size on the first retest. You can very much just decide to set some partial orders and enter slowly, maybe 1 quarter by 1 quarter. Let the retest happen and compound higher if there is strength. But basically, I think you want to see this entire region defended. I'm not quite sure if you want to play aggressively with only bids at for H4 300 MA, or if you want to start scaling from H4 100 MA. But basically in this region, I think is a decent place to see some defense. And if during the next few days you have the confluence of H4 trend defended plus this resistance we've been stuck below since end of June. If you have the confluence of both of them retested, I think it's a sexy long to play and aim for a retest of the highs. So yeah, that exactly the same thought process than for the XRP daily chart. You either try to position yourself within the EMA compression, or you wait for the trendy behavior above. And it's likely the way I would be fine playing it. So I'm gonna set some alerts at H for 300 MA and down to H for 300 MA, and I already have an alert above the resistance. But yeah, it's been a very clean one, the way it's been developing. EMA wise, at least, it's basically the entire system in full display again. Strong trend, the trend starts to crack, 100 MA loss, gap fill to 200 MA, gap fill to 300 MA, bounce to 100 MA, compression, and now getting very tight. In a world where Bitcoin doesn't shit the bed too hard and is kind enough to consolidate, maybe it's one of those coins that we could focus on for some trendy behavior. But for now, it's still not defending H4 trends, but it's getting very, very tight. It's getting very compressed. So exact same idea that for XRP daily, but on H4 with the exact same focuses and the exact same overall idea. Okay. But yeah, pretty clean. As for Fatcoin, I got stopped out of a setup on Fatcoin yesterday. I will show you which was the setup. And I ended up cutting this one because I didn't see a defense of H4 100 MA. But in any case, I got stopped out of this yesterday. The main idea I had behind this setup was the confluence of H4 trend plus H4 300 MA plus these local highs. So the idea was defend this region, and I think we get a tap of the highs printed at the beginning of June. But unfortunately, as you guys seen, so I don't know what's the correct way of saying it, but basically the entire Solana meme coin not entire, but a lot of Solana shit coins got obliterated off of the PumpFun ICO announcement. So yeah, that was my main idea yesterday, and it got absolutely destroyed. And I wanted to see if it was defending H4 100 MA, but as you can see, so far it's just not showing any kind of strength. It still is at an interesting region because it's retesting daily 100 MA. But I think I'm fine not being the one that catches this retest and wait for a trendy behavior. Because again, as you can see, strong trend reclaimed, defended, daily trend defended, lost trend, filled the gap, and daily trend disrespected ever since, mostly chop fest. Which doesn't mean that it has not been fun to trade, because it has been swinging quite bigly, even if it's not within a daily trend. But after being stopped out here, and after being stopped out last week also on another setup, I think it's a good enough signal for me to back off of the Fatcoin trading and wait for it to develop a little bit more and see how it can develop for me to be interested to trade. But it's extremely likely that I just flip back to daily and actually, okay, so I'm not in this setup. I just want to be clear. But basically, yeah, wait for something like this to happen, which it failed to do earlier this week. So basically, wait for a new daily trend, or wait for a daily 200 MA retest. This is the daily game plan that we've had over the past couple of weeks for Fatcoin in the Haven. I'm sticking to it, and so far it's not defending daily trend. So I'm either waiting for daily 200 MA to go, or waiting for a new daily trend to form. I need, and as I said, this was my plan on daily, and if I stick to it, I would have avoided two trades stopped. And simply because I wanted to be the cool guy that trade in lower time frame, I got stopped out of 2 trades instead of simply sticking to a daily plan that was just good enough to stick to it. Can you also squeeze in hype? Yeah. And this is the last one I'm taking because otherwise I don't think we'll be able to cover all the chat requests. Thoughts on Launchcoin? I don't have a strong opinion on Launchcoin. Not because I don't want to take a side, but mostly because I have not been a trenches warrior. I have not particularly participated in the pub fund mania, and I have not particularly been trading shitcoins off of pub fund until they get listed on exchanges. I am a boomer in the market now. It's been a couple of cycles, so I was too old to do so. And mostly because I've been trading Bitcoin more than anything over the past couple of years. So I don't think my opinion on Launchcoin is very interesting for you guys. I don't think I'm positioned to have a interesting opinion about Launchcoin. So no strong opinion. I'm curious to see how it develops. I'm curious to see if Launchcoin and any coins creation platform or whatever you want to call it as a future and continues to be as interesting. I don't know if it's something that can revive the trenches or if it's been extracting too much for people to continue to be interested. But yeah, no strong opinion. No strong opinion. I don't think I am. I don't think I should be the one to give my opinion on things like Launchcoin and Pumpfin. Okay, let's do hype because I know that I have a small position on hype, but I'm not a big fan of it. I will explain why. So hype, we've been trading hype a lot, and the main thought process we've had on hype was off of the daily chart. Let me show you the daily charts and the daily trend, because basically it's been in the same daily trend from so strong daily downtrend, trend reclaimed, defended into $14 up to $4.37. I only started to pick up with the movement from that orange box, and I wish I traded it better than I did, but it's fine. And basically, again, if you remember what we discussed about Bitcoin earlier today in the stream, strong daily trend, the daily trend starts to crack, chop fast. Strong daily trend, the trend starts to crack, chop fast. The only other situation where the daily trend started to crack and we got trend continuation was this example from January 2024. It's the latest one that I have in mind. But basically, trend lost, failed to 100 MA, trend reclaim. On hype, this is my main interrogation right now, and I think it's what I have written on the chart, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, is it a daily trend deviation into daily trend continuation, or is it the daily trend break that leads into chop fests? I don't know. But what can be an interesting indicator about that is whether the H4 EMA compression is defended or not. Because if you remember what we said about EMA compression, we said that if you have an EMA compression and price exit the compression into trend defended, it likely means to expect some trendy behavior. So if H4 EMA compression is successful on hype, maybe we have trend continuation, even if it's just for a retest of the highs or maybe more. While if H4 EMA compression is disrespected, I would mostly expect something like this, while 100 MA catches up with price. So that's the overall idea when it comes to the daily charts. And you understand why I said a few minutes ago that I was not very happy about the setup, because I feel like I'm forcing things. I still don't know if we're gonna have a daily trend defended into continuation, and yet I see myself trying to play the compression, while I think the recent trades we took on hype were more than good. So I ended up going for that. Again, I'm repeating myself, but that just shows that I just have a system that I continue to repeat executing. For SPX on H4, we said you either wait for a new trend to form or you try to position yourself into the compression as close to H4 300 MA. And we said the same thing for XRP daily, right? This is the main thing we discussed for both of these coins. And this is basically my thought process for that setup on H4. Longed into the H4 EMMA compression and we'll wait to see. I will only be interested to compound if it defends an H4 trend outside of the compression. Again, this is the exact same thought process. But yeah, I think I'm forcing things. With that setup, and I will likely be reducing the size and likely be reducing the exposure because, yeah, feels forced. Feels like I'm forcing the setup instead of waiting for a trendy behavior. While I don't think that I particularly need to chase setups more in current context in the market. I think this is the kind of environment where you take a setup when it's offered, but you don't have to particularly chase, mostly because Bitcoin is not trendy on the daily. But yeah, this is my view on hype, Joe Apple. So if I was to summarize things for you, if it loses H4 300 MA and basically this entire region over here, so that's like 35.5 up to 37.5, if that's lost and not defended, I will consider the H4 EMMA compression as not defended. And if that's the case, then my main conclusion would be at least chop fest while daily trend is flat. In that case, I will get out and I will wait for a more trendy environment to trade it. So this is what I said for that daily chart over here. If H4 EMMA compression not defended, then I would mostly expect a gap fill to 100 MA, and whether it happens by price retracing or by price consolidating, I don't know. But in any case, most often than not, I'm just not interested to trade something that's not trending. Because the chances I get bullied by something that's not trendy are pretty high. And if I can avoid being bullied, I try to. So far, we are not seeing much of a reaction from Bitcoin H1. It's gonna have to show more strength. And I might have been stopped now. Not yet. The stream curse gonna continue. And I will do just like last week. I will shut the stream off, go to the pub, and I will call it a week. All right, so let's move on to the next chart requests, unless you guys have questions for these three ones, but it's pretty much the same thought process for most of them outside Fatcoin. SPX, HYPE, and XRP are all cases of EMA compression. This one on daily, this one on H4, and this one on H4. If you're in the Haven and you want to know more about the EMMA compression, as usual, go check the WOP library. Did a detailed article about it a couple of months ago that gives you early conditions, templates, how to trade it. Curve. It's 2025 and we are still watching Curve. That's pretty nuts. I remember making this chart from last stream. And Curve did Curve things, meaning that it sucks balls. It sucks balls. If you're not aware, Curve has a bit of a reputation of being a cursed coin and being very shitty to trade. And it has bullied me in the past, clearly. And ever since, even if I see a very good setup on Curve, I just don't take it. I have probably 15 entries in my journal saying, do not touch Curve, do not touch Curve. This is also true for ENS and a few others, but Curve is definitely one of them. With that being said, it's back below what was a strong resistance in early in the beginning of the year, from January to April. It failed to flip its support. and it's in a clear daily downtrend. It's been the same daily downtrend on curve since post this fake out, but I think we can say since 0.70, it's been the same daily downtrend. To me, curve is a no-go until it manages to reclaim back inside this range plus break the daily trend, in which case you have an argument. Oh, oops. For these two gap fills. Just like it did in April and May. And then we'll take a look at at the lower time frame after that if you guys want. Maybe there is some things to see on lower time frame, but at least on the daily, I think getting back above 0.5560 on the daily would already be a good fight from curve and could open the door for these two gap fills. So, oops, potential game plan. I will write in bigger size, obviously. So wait for E1 downtrend. Okay, sorry. I will explain this part in a minute. So I will write it, I will word it that way, if and then. That's 68. Okay, that's 68. Okay, let's take a look at lower time frame. Maybe there's something to work with on the on lower time frame. I just want to take a look at higher time frame. Okay. Okay. I am getting beat up on CRV, but with the stable narrative, I can't resist. I understand the thought process, but yeah, curve. The thought process makes sense, and I 100% understand your thought process with that. But yeah, curve. Really, I'm not quite sure what to add. I'm not quite sure what to add. Just curve doing curve things. On lower time frame, pretty choppy H4. You could have an argument for these gap fills if/when, but for example, on H4, if we were to make this gap fill, that would be a daily downtrend retest. But that reminds me of something that I need to think about. On the daily chart that we just covered, it's something that I already discussed through the streams, but it never hurts to say it again because it's something I have a lot of questions about most of the time. I said daily downtrend broken, and I said close above plus H4 200 EMA flipped. Why did I say that? I said that because in my system, because we are very often focused on trends, it's important to have an understanding and a confirmation or invalidation to when a trend is considered lost or reclaimed. What I personally do is my condition to consider a trend to be lost or reclaimed, depending if you're playing to the downside or the upside, is a close above and -1 time frame 200 EMA flipped. What does that mean? It means that if I'm riding a daily trend, I'm gonna go on H, and we start seeing the daily above daily downtrend or daily uptrend. I'm gonna go on H4 and I'm gonna see how we are reacting to H4 200 EMA. If I'm riding an H4 trend, I'm gonna go on H1 and I'm gonna check how we are reacting to H1 200 EMA. If I'm riding an H1 trend, I will go and check the 15-minute 200 EMA. I think that if BTC particularly gave us some nice examples about these, where it tried to break through daily downtrends a couple of times, and when we were focused on the daily downtrend on EBTC, we always went and checked the H4 200 EMA to see that it was either rejected or instantly failed to flip support, meaning that all of these were deviations more than daily trend breaks. While finally we blasted through the H4 trend, we had nice confirmation of H4 200 EMA being blasted through, and that was enough to consider the trend to be lost. It doesn't have to be something that you apply for yourself, but if you're looking for some potential conditions to know if you're playing with the trending system that I have, or if you're playing with something similar, I think it's a good condition to work with. The combination of a close above or below, depending if you're playing upside or downside, plus 200 EMA flipped or not. It's a good intraday lower time frame confirmation of a trend to be broken. And we have some very good examples from Bitcoin also on the recent daily downtrends break, where H4 200 EMA stops being respected, and it's the beginning of longer period of chop fest. And it's the case from time to time. It's not always going to be perfectly respected. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if it can help you avoid some potential trap or deviations or fake outs, I think it's interesting enough. Okay, Sui. It's been a while I didn't look at Sui. I used Sui for my educational content for the gap fill setups, because last year Sui was just perfect at the beginning of the year in terms of gap fills. Super strong trend breaks, flips resistance, 100 EMA breaks, gap fill to 200 EMA, bounces off the 200 EMA, trend still strong, 200 EMA breaks, comes for the bearish retest, fill the gap to 300 EMA. So fucking damn clear. But Sui. Nothing that I'm very interested of. Okay, I don't have much to add beside this. I think this is a plan we made during the last public stream also. No, sorry. It comes from a setup we had in the event that was rapidly stopped out. I could see the justification for this setup. I would not aim that far, but okay. Yeah. I think this is mostly the view I would have. So yes, this is up or down. I can see the comments coming already, but Vic, please. Again, I said that I was not taking new chat requests, but we will sleep this one unless it's a turbo lower time, unless it's a very small cap meme coin. I don't have much of an interest to chart these ones. So yeah, this is my point of view right now for Sui. You could have a justification to short that, to be honest, with an invalidation like this. I think this is pretty much the idea. This is the two setups I would be fine chasing for something like Sui. I think in both cases you want to front run more than this. Basically, the main idea for me is that the entire 2.9, 3.1 region is stacked in terms of technical analysis, in terms of technical levels. You have support resistance flip, daily downtrend, which has been the same one since 3.6. So if it's strong and it gets back above all of that, you have an argument to try and play a long off of the reclaim of daily trends. But if daily downtrend continues to act as resistance, you have a good argument for daily downtrend retrace from here, especially after the rejection that we've had already. Actually, I'm gonna share this one real quick in the event so that I don't forget about it. Yeah, interesting. I'm gonna set some alerts up to daily 100 MA over here, daily 200 MA, daily 100. If it's tagged, I know that if it's tagged, I know it's a place I want to be in, I want to be paying attention. Let's keep it at that for now. But I need to keep an eye on how Sui develops from here. Yeah. Let's take a quick look at lower time frame, but something that looks like this on the daily, most often than not, looks very choppy on the on lower time frame. Yeah. Nothing that I can work on in lower time frame for those who asked for 3, and you can basically see it by the way the H4 trend is disrespected, and by the way H4 structure is just fully flat and compressing. But on the daily, I could be interested in one of those two setups, to be honest. It's quite nuts though that 3 is still down 30% on the year. Seeing those coins not nearing all-time high with Bitcoin doing what Bitcoin does, that's always a little bit surprising to me, but I should not be surprised. It's been basically the name of the game for the last 2 years, so I should stop being surprised. Okay, for now, let's just stick it to that for 3. Sorry if you... I cannot see a setup long from this place right now, but I could see a setup later. Hello, Trend Flipper. How are you, brother? I remember SEI pumping last week, but I cannot remember what was the reason. It's extremely unlikely that I'm interested to trade that, to be honest. But my point of view has not changed. Yeah. Flipper, we discussed XRP quite in details earlier. I can give you a quick look if you want. I'm sure as soon as I'm done with that. Yeah, XRP Flipper. I mean, you're not surprised, right? It's the classical EMA compression. I have some exposure of a setup that Krina shared from the compression itself. And at this point, I'm either waiting for a daily trend defended outside of the compression or a retest of daily 300 MA. Nothing too surprising. For you, Flipper, you might be interested in the SPX 69H4. Take a look at it if you have not yet. Could be interesting for you. And yeah, doing great. We are approaching the end of the stream. But it's been an interesting stream so far. We haven't found that much of things of interest to trade, but again, it's July, isn't it? Moit Gurar, Vic, please. I'm not quite sure which one you're asking. If it's not on TradingView, I'm not charting it. Or maybe you're asking actually for me to check Viking holdings. The fuck is that? Quick. It is on TradingView, so I can be interesting. Clear daily downtrend for this one on the weekly. And pretty flat on the daily. Does not look like something I want to trade. I know just by the size of the wicks that it's a bit pointless to make any kind of analysis off of it. Cakes. Maybe it has, maybe it's more of a coin to play off of potential narratives or whatever. But in terms of technical levels, I don't feel like I have much to offer to you off of this coin. Maybe I'm not watching the good coin. Maybe I can find a place with more price history. Often on CoinEx, there are more price history. Yeah. It doesn't change much, right? It's like, yeah. Whoever asked for this one, please give me a little bit more details what you are seeing, if you're long, if you're short, because yeah, maybe there is a play VQSDT. It's not on TradingView. I'm not charting it, mate. He pumped 150% yesterday. Awesome. Love to read it. Hope that it benefited to some of you, but no idea what it is. And it's not. Maybe it's VIC that you meant, not with a K. If that's the case, if it's this one you're talking about, Moit, then I'm sorry guys, I'm not taking new chat requests. We are approaching the end of the stream. I still have these ones to cover. It's been close to it's been 1.5 hours of streaming. I'm not taking new chat requests. I'm getting a little bit tired. Yeah, okay, no worries, Moit. Okay, so it's VIC. Okay, so in a coin like this that pumped that much, very often you have the classical formation of a triangle, you know, like the old days, like the 2017 days. Pub time. After that, yeah, I'm going to the pub. Actually, I might not go to the pub. I might just play CS. But in any case, no charts anymore. I think you have a. I think this is a setup you could be interested to play. Something like this, where you pay yourself quite bigly on this retest over here. But H1 trend would be the focus for me, mostly because you don't have much to work with on lower time frame than that. And okay, maybe I can check something. Maybe it has more price history somewhere else, like CoinEx as usual again. Okay, that's a different story, isn't it? That's a vastly different story. That's a different story in terms of levels you can aim, basically, compared to... Okay, so we can clearly see that this is an interesting place. I think you want to front run this region. But okay. It doesn't change much of the setup that I was discussing, but it's more so that you can have some sort of a idea of the places you would be interested to pay yourself if retested, basically. So I still think that any retest of this region is a take profit, and I think it goes all the way up to this region. It's a very wide region to pay yourself, but basically front run the highs. And yeah, the idea for me for something that looks like this is that if it's ready for more, I would expect the H1 trend to be respected. And if H1 trend plus confluence of this horizontal support confluence is not defended, I would be... usually for me, it's enough to consider that I'm not interested in playing it particularly. But basically, what you want to see is a formation like this. And obviously, up. Up. And I think you can... I think this is something you want to... So, okay, I will writing down. Focus on H1 trends. Okay. Okay. So this would be my main point of view for this one, Moit, sorry. Maybe you want to give your space a little bit more place for this invalidation, but in my opinion, if it starts losing H1 trend and flip it a little bit resistance, you get the fuck out. If it's a fake out, fuck it, and you can still try to re-enter higher. But if it's not a fake out and it goes for a harsh retrace of yesterday move, you don't want to be caught pants down on something like this. Again, if you want to have access to these charts, they will be shared at the end of the stream in this Telegram channel. Let me share the link in the chat if you are not there already. You guys think there will be a bigger dump in August? There is around August 5th every year circle. Absolutely no idea. Absolutely no idea. And anyone giving you a definitive answer to this kind of question, or an answer with conviction to this kind of question, is most often they're not full of shit, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, so let alone on 5th of August. yes, of course, there are some seasonality in things, and maybe indeed, 5th of August, we tend to have some dips in the market. But to tell you other way, I'm going to answer you another way. Max, if you knew today that there was going to be, or if you had strong conviction today that there was going to be a big move on 5th of August, would that change anything off of your positioning today and for the coming days to week? If the answer is no, it means that it's an information that's pointless to your trading. But if we had to have a dip during August, I will welcome it nicely, as long as the overall structure is not completely destroyed, obviously. And I guess because Trump is, because I think we're expecting the deadline to be 1st of August for the rest of tariff or whatever. Or maybe tariffs start being paid on August 1st, or I don't know what. Maybe this could be a nice confluence for a move early August, max. But I could not tell you, and I could not tell you with conviction if I'm expecting something to happen on August 5th precisely. With pleasure, Flipper Norris, and thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Okay, so that's Vic. Kato is gonna be quick because, yeah, it failed to reclaim daily trends. The thing with Kato is that it's a decent project which apparently is making some money, etc., etc. But I cannot help myself to hate them because it's so obvious. It's so obvious when the tweet is Yap farming coded, and it kind of makes a part of my feed just completely trash. But if we forget about that, I have not looked at Kato since that H4 300 ml retest, which was a nice last gap fill setup. Actually, it's more something like this, by the way. Huh? But let's remove everything. And okay, it reminds me of Curve. I will show you guys why. We have this confluence with the H4 downtrends. So it reminds me of Curve because we have the similar structure of some price action happening, strong resistance, price managed to get above, but within the same trend, completely fails to flip its support and is back inside what was the trading region before the leg up. And the Kato lower time frame kind of makes me think of that right now. You can see price below, spend above. So the thought process is going to be extremely similar. And to me, the plan is going to be this when it comes to Kato. We have H4 300 MA over here, which acted as a perfect resistance for our last setup. And some confluence with those highs over here. So to me, if on H4 it manages to get back above the confluence of H4 100 MA, H4 200 MA, and H4 trends, I think there will be a case for a gap fill back to H4 300 MA again. But as long as it's stuck below this entire confluence, you could approach it exactly similarly to what we discussed on Curve also earlier. On Sui, sorry, as we discussed earlier, with a potential gap fill to retest those lows over here. So it's not just up or down. It's, if you see a chart like this from me, it's not just up or down. It's, if you have to have any kind of trading plan, make it off of the reclaim of this box over here, basically. I will write it down. And I'm gonna set some alert in this region, just like I did for Sui earlier. Who asked for Kato? I can't remember. Okay, I can't find anymore. But basically, okay. Yeah, so this would be my plan personally when it comes to Kato. If I'm willing to trade it, that would be off of the reclaim of this region, and you can go even slightly higher if you want to play it a little bit safer. I will actually set some alerts over here also, and some alerts at H4 300 MA. H4 300 MA, by the way, that's going to catch down. So the longer it takes for this reclaim, the less interesting this gap fill becomes, obviously. I'm about to get stopped out. I should cut that, by the way. Huh? But I'm about. It's interesting to see ETH outperforming Bitcoin a little bit on these kind of days. Kato, and then we have Bula. Are you done to go skiing in the winter, or better will you go, or better will you going with the Haven? It's not planned to do any kind of ERL events. But if you're skiing in the Alps and you send me a message to drink a pint, I would likely say yes, because I like beer and I like skiing, and I spend most of my winters in the Alps. So you have a good chance to see me if you spend some time in the Alps during the winter, and if you message me first, obviously. But no, there is no planned ERL events for the event. Also, you need to keep in mind that in France right now, with what's been happening in France, for anyone who's in crypto, you can easily understand that I'm a bit reluctant to any kind of ERL meetup. I would like to keep my 10 fingers, if you see what I mean. Bula, I have never watched this chart, but I can see that it's one of those coins that's listed on perps on Binance, but not in spot. This is so criminal. Okay. I'm not. Who asked me to check this one? I think it was. I don't know who it was, but this is a bit of a chaotic chart, right? Okay, I have literally nothing to tell you for this coin. I'm not saying it looks shit. I'm not saying it looks good. I just have a no edge on something that looks like this. And it's probably affiliated to a meme or whatever that I'm not aware of. So I don't have much to offer you, and I don't think that any kind of technical analysis of a chart that looks like this is particularly relevant. Or at the very least, it would need to develop a little bit more. It has 20 daily candles. That's just not enough. Maybe it has more price action somewhere else, obviously. But in any cases, I don't have much of a. There is not much. I don't think I can help you very much reading this coin or make any kind of positioning off of this coin just based off the locality. So we will look at near that GDP asked earlier, and we will finish on that. Sorry. It's been a while I haven't looked at NIR. Well, it's been since February, basically. Wow. What can I say? What can I say? What are you looking at on near GDP? Is there something in particular that are you long? Are you short? What's the idea you have on this one? When I see something that looks like this, my main idea would be some sort of compression like this. And basically, if H4 100 is not defended, you have a strong argument to see a potential full retrace. So let's went too long on the H1 reclaim. So basically on this above là, so when I look at a chart that looks like this, all I'm seeing is trend disrespected and main moving averages all flat. Basically, what's gonna make me interested in the coin is if we have a compression like we discussed on Bitcoin daily, blah blah blah, and or if there is a trend defended, and or if the main moving averages are curving up or down if I'm looking too short. But basically, if we have some steepness from the moving averages, if they are all flat, most often they are not. It means that it's a trendless environment that I should not be actively trade. And it's pretty much what I'm seeing on NIR right now when I'm opening every chart. On the daily, we have flat moving averages, slightly curving down, meaning that at best, if I'm long and these are retested, they are good exits. On H4, it's fully flat and it could compress, as I said, something like this. And on H1, it's 100% flat. So if you took that setup, at least it cannot be based off of a trend-based system because there is just no trend to work with. And it's been the case basically since June 2025. It has printed some up and down, obviously, but overall, this is the exact same average value it's been since January. Since early June 2025, sorry, but it's a H1 chart. So the best I could tell is that this is likely not something you want to spend too much time on trading lower time frames. And my point of view when it comes to these kind of coins like NIR, like Harmony, all of those coins, is that until there is a clear narrative brewing for them, which can be on any form, it can be a new ecosystem grant, it can be whatever, but basically until you have a reason to trade these coins, you probably have some more trendy shit coins in the market. Or maybe it's a coin that you are particularly attached to or that you've been holding for some times. But unless there is a narrative forming for a coin like NIR, I don't see much of a reason to be spending some time trading something like this when we have even Bitcoin and ETH looking more trendy than this, if you see what I mean. That doesn't mean that there are no good trades to catch, obviously. Just that, um, yeah, it's a pretty trendless chart. But in any cases, this would be my main point of view. meaning that if you took that long, I think you want to pay yourself a first time on the H4 200 MA retest over here if it's offered. And if slash when it was to give a retest of H4 300 MA plus the confluence of these highs, you get the fuck out. And if on H4 it starts losing H4 100 MA and it fails to defend even that, you get the fuck out also. But it's not something where I would be interested to trade, which again doesn't mean that there is no trades to take, just that at least in my setup, this is not particularly something I'm interested in. As for Bonk, I think it retested, got it, that makes sense. Feel like Near might get an ETF. If that's the case, and if you have, so if you have this kind of conviction, if you feel like this could be a narrative for a coin, then something like Near makes more sense to play than something else, because it's likely that something that has very little attention and very low liquidity could have a strong reaction off of an ETF news. But I also think that if you get that news and you're in a position, you pay yourself off of the leg that's printed off of the news. Because I think that the impact of the news itself on something like Near would be bigger than the ETF itself, because I cannot see a world where some people are actually putting money in a Near ETF. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So if you're playing it, I think this is a place you want to, I think you want to pay yourself off of the news itself. I think this got stopped. Yeah. I will be waiting for a reclaim just like last time, or lower. And it's gonna be time for me to go to the pub. Quick recap of everything that we discussed through the stream, especially for Bitcoin. You have a big fight right now. The fact that it failed to defend H1 100 MA and H1 trend is not worrying price-wise. It's more worrying trend-wise in terms of how much fun we should expect from the market in the short term. Like, I would not be surprised if we mostly just chop fest like this, unless there are some kind of external news. I continue to think that you have an opportunity for a setup on a reclaim of this region again, just like it happened earlier today. Otherwise, you want to aim for H4 EMA retest lower, which is currently in the 106, 107 region. Just like last week, by the way, the exact same thought process. We lose H4 trend, we fill the gap, you play the gap. And beside that, I genuinely think that this is not the environment where you should be spending most of your days trying to trade the lower time frame price action. It's July. It's trendless on H1, on H4. You probably have a better, your time is probably better spent planning things on higher time frame, like making plans on what you would do depending on what happens on the daily chart. If we start printing price discovery, if we retrace back into daily 100 MA, daily 200 MA, making plans today in case we get these kind of retests is likely going to be much more interesting for you and more productive than trying to actively trade lower time frame, this kind of lower time frame. That doesn't mean that there is nothing good to do off of that, obviously. And like me, you could be interested to trade this to train your lower time frame trading skills. But overall, I think unless you're someone that has a lot of time to dedicate to the market, sticking to the daily time frame right now with a main focus on the daily trend and the all-timer region probably is just as much of a good approach than trying to be the hero. To be the hero of trying to trade lower time frame, which again doesn't mean that that there is nothing to do off of lower time frame. But yeah, I will always be a strong advocate of higher time frame maxes, especially for those who don't have 8 hours to dedicate to the market every day. Beside this on Bitcoin, and maybe, you know what, maybe I should add to today's charts, the Bitcoin charts, so that you can have access to them also. Before I forget. Because yeah, as usual, I am sharing all of those charts in my Telegram section. Charts covered on stream today. And here's the link to the Telegram if you want to check. Okay, and I will finish the stream with my usual but mandatory The Haven chill, obviously. I deserve it. If you're interested in this kind of streams, don't forget that I do these on a couple of times per week in The Haven, alongside plenty of other things, daily analysis, daily detail analysis, some trade IDs discussed. The daily details analysis recently I've been more focused on H1 because it's where the most focus happened. But with a strong daily focus, as we just discussed, discussion about scalps, chat request every streams. If that's something that could interest you, don't hesitate to check through the ref link that I have on my Twitter page. I can share it in the chat before leaving. Beside that, again, strongly advised to join the Telegram channel, which is entirely free and where I share already a lot of daily analysis and content. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's stream. Slightly longer than I expected. Unfortunately, we haven't found much setups that we could trigger straight away. It's been mostly planning some things for the coming days and weeks comings. If I stream again in July, I will let you guys know. Otherwise, I will see you all in August. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for the question, for the chat request. Really appreciate it. The streams would be pointless without your questions and your chat requests. So thanks as usual for being here. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't hesitate to drop a small comment on Twitter. Give me your thoughts, give me your feedback, see what I could do better, what I could work on. And I will see you guys in the next stream. Thank you very much as usual. Cheers.